The case we are talking about today is a series of robbery and murder cases that have caused a sensation in China. The murderers were a couple. Some people think of them as the Chinese version of Bonnie Park and Clyde Barrow. Judging from their appearances, some people think of them as Beauty and Beast. This is how their former neighbors recalled them.
皮肤高高的，头发长头发，穿的衣服呢，一般都穿一套夏天白色的套裙。看着人来是一个还有比较有素养的一个人样子。
女的长得挺漂亮的，长得挺漂亮的，那个男的呢，很凶的感觉。
Now, let's look at this case together. Fa Ziying was born in 1964 in Jiangxi province. When he was 15 years old, his father died in a whirlpool accident while swimming in the wild. Shortly afterward, his mother was hospitalized due to a car accident. No one disciplined Fa during his adolescence, and Fa became badly behaved. Fa was sent to prison for robbery and indecent assault at the age of 15. 3 years later, Fa was released from prison, but not long after his release, he became even more violent and was sentenced to another 10 years in prison. In 1989, Fa was released from prison, and by then he had been known in the local underworld. In 1990, Fa got married and had a daughter with his wife. In 1993, while attending a friend's wedding, he met Lao Rongzhi. Seeing this beautiful young girl, Lao, Fa was very attracted to her and bragged about his achievements over the years. He had been a recidivist robber, but he described himself as a chivalrous figure who would fight against evil and support the weak. After the wedding, Fa drove Lao home on his motorcycle. Soon after, Fa and 19-year-old Lao became lovers. Lao's parents had 5 children, and Lao was the youngest. In the eyes of her family, she was the most talented and intelligent child, with good grades and many awards during school time. After graduating from junior high school, she was admitted to a normal school. After graduation, she worked as a teacher in a primary school. At that time, she was seen as a beautiful, smart, and promising woman. Lao herself also said during the trial,
不是温柔、善良、胆小，但是事实上我给所有人的印象都是这样。
Let's see what a soft-hearted and timid person did next. When Lao and Fa were dating, they spent around 10,000 to 20,000 yuan per month, which was definitely a huge amount of money in the 90s. At that time, Lao's salary was only 300 yuan a month as a teacher. Their expenses came entirely from Fa's underworld business. That's how she lived a wealthy life with Fa. Unfortunately, the good times didn't last long. In 1996, Fa got into a fight with others and stabbed someone. He had to run away from his hometown. Then he took his 22-year-old girlfriend, Lao, and 6,000 yuan and fled. Within a month, they ran out of all the money. However, Fa, who left his hometown, also lost his ability to make money. In order to maintain their extravagant lifestyle, Fa thought of using Lao to attract men to their home and commit robbery. In May, the two fled to Nan Chang city and soon committed their first murder. After arriving in Nan Chang, the two rented an apartment and lived there. Lao used the stolen ID to work as a hostess at a nightclub to seek rich men. On the morning of July 28th, Lao seduced Mr. Xiong to her apartment. Fa robbed Xiong of jewelry, a watch and other items and extorted money from him. After forcing Xiong to tell his home address, Fa strangled him to death with wire and rope in the afternoon of the same day. In order to destroy the body and disappear, Fa dismembered Xiong's body and put it into 4 bags. That night, Fa and Lao took the key found on Xiong to the Xiong's home and opened the door. Xiong's wife and their 3-year-old daughter were sleeping in the bedroom. Fa threatened Xiong's wife with a knife to hand over cash. They tied her hands and feet and robbed some gold, jewelry, cash, bonds, and other belongings from Xiong's home, totaling about 140,000 yuan. In the early morning of the 29th, Fa killed Xiong's wife and his 3-year-old daughter and then left Nanchang City and fled to other cities. In October 1997, Lao and Fag fled to Wenzhou City. Lao met a hostess named Liang at a nightclub. She saw that Liang was wearing an Omega watch and thought that Liang must be rich, so she told Far about it. On October 10th, Fag and Lao came to Liang's apartment in the name of renting the apartment. Then they tied her hands and feet and forced her to hand over her belongings. But they were not satisfied after getting only a mobile phone and a watch, so they forced Liang to lure a rich person to her residence. Liang thought of her boss Liu and was forced to call her. Liang told Liu that she had a stomachache and asked her to come to check up on her. When Liu came to Liang's apartment, Fag forced her to hand over cash and the bank card by the same method. Then, Fag guarded the hostages and Lao went to the bank to withdraw cash. After she successfully withdrew the money, she called Far. Then, Fag strangled the two women and fled with Lao. In 1998, Lao and Fag fled to Chang Zhou. Using the same method as the first time, Lao lured her customer, Mr. Liu, to her rented apartment. Fag hid at the door and kidnapped Liu. After stabbing Mr. Liu's chest, Fag tied him with a wire to restrict him and asked him to call his wife for money. After receiving the call, Liu's wife went to the appointed place with 70,000 yuan and saw a woman waiting for her. This woman was Lao. Liu's wife followed Lao to an apartment. At that time, Liu's hands and feet were tied and his mouth was stuffed with something. His wife was terrified and gave the money to Lao immediately. After getting the money, Fag wanted to kill them, but Liu's wife begged so hard that Fag let them go. This is also the only case where the victim was not killed. According to Liu, during the crime, Fag and Lao cooperated tacitly, and they hardly communicated throughout the process. On June 21, 1999, Fag and Lao fled to Hefei. At a nightclub, Lao met a man named Yin who was very generous and always spent a lot of money at the club. On July 22nd, Lao invited Yin to her home for fun. As soon as he entered the apartment, Yin was kidnapped by Fag, who was hiding inside. Fag put him into a big iron cage that he bought in advance. At first, Yin refused to give them any money. In order to make Yin surrender, Fag deceived a carpenter to his apartment under the pretext of repairing the window and killed the carpenter in front of Yin. Then, Fag put the body in a freezer. Seeing this, Yin was frightened to death. He immediately wrote a note to his wife asking her to prepare money. Then, Lao and Yin stayed at home, and Fag went to Yin's home with the note to get the money. When Yin's wife saw the note, she knew that her husband was in danger. She told Fag that she didn't have cash at home, but she could borrow some from her family. She asked Fag to wait for her at her home, and she would be back with the money as soon as possible. Then she took advantage of this opportunity to call the police. The police immediately rushed to her home and captured Fag. This is the video when Fag was arrested at that time.
事实没那个必要，我们也没必要这样。你钱拿出来，你自己出来不就行了吗？
现在不谈这个，
谈什么呢？
先拿一点吃的来吧。
哦，可以呀。哦。
这边来嘛，这边来我对付这边，你们那边无非是，啊，我们现在隔了这个6米。
我跟你讲，你实际上没那个必要，
是不是啊？你们开枪最好是对我正面打吧。啊？这是完全。
你别拿生命作假好不好？把枪揪出来，有本事可以讲，对不对？你有没有条件？
世界就是这么不公，你说的。其实你的生命跟我的生命是一样的。
对，都很珍贵的。
珍贵什么的？不好听的话，你拉一点功。
听到了没有？把枪揪出来好不好？
把枪顶出来，好吧？什么时候放枪？
你用条件可以看出来。
你要讲个一口气，什么叫我丢枪？我现在叫你丢，你会丢吗？那个拉家鸡的朋友，我看着你这个小白脸样子的，这种场合好玩吗？生和死在瞬间中就会成为现实的。
对他。好，看不到就别打。
什么？
一个警力没有呀？
Lao sensed that something should have happened to Fa, since he hadn't returned for a long time. Therefore, Lao decided to leave on the safe side. She killed Yin and left a note for Fa before she left.
留下字条的内容是什么？
我说：“亲爱的，我先走了，我会在家里等你，我爱你。”
你留纸条的目的是干什么？
我害怕他直接怕了我先跑了，直接冲到我家里人去杀我家人。我为了保护我家人，我忍耐了非常的多，受了非常的多。
After being arrested, Fa seriously misled the police's investigation direction. At first, he even denied the existence of Lao, giving Lao sufficient time to escape.
哪个房子？
我真不知道了，我知道我不是说了。
那个房子是他租的房子，是他自己的房子。
我不知道。
It was not until neighbors called the police because Yin's body began to stink that the police finally found the apartment where they committed their last crime, but Lao had already fled. During the interrogation, the police found that Fa was indifferent to the lives of himself and others, but he was very concerned about whether Lao had been caught. He had a wife and daughter, but Lao was the only person Fa asked about. During the trial, Fa excused Lao 7 times.
反正我就是琢磨办脚的了。不是说以此为生的，我并不是为杀人而感到达到目的，我是为了搞钱达到目的，所以他赚钱不太手段呢。
On December 28, 1999, Fa was executed. From 1999 to 2019, Lao lived a hidden life as an alias Shirley. She used to work as a bar waitress, car saleswoman, etc. One of her male clients once shared their chat records, which showed that she flirted to get sales. During her escape, she learned to paint, to dance, and had a boyfriend. Her life seemed like an ordinary woman who lived positively. On November 28, 2019, the police in Xiamen City noticed a shop assistant who looked like Lao a lot. After 20 years of escape, Lao was arrested by the police in a mall in Xiamen City when she was at work. At first, she insisted that she was Hongjiao, not Lao. Then, the police extracted her DNA and compared it with Lao's family, confirming that she was Lao. After she was arrested, her boyfriend Mr. Luo said that he would spend all his money to defend her. He also repeatedly entrusted Lao's family to take messages to Lao, hoping that she would rest assured that he wouldn't leave her alone. The families of the victims finally see the day that Lao is arrested.
你没想到的一件事，地方肯定了解你的是一段心愿，你20多年的心愿，他敢老人知他到了，我敢到了得到这哪多万呢？他敢在厦门，可真的我当时就哭着不能行了。
Facing interrogation, Lao finally admitted that she and Fa were accomplices in the robbery, but denied killing anyone. However, during the trial, she retracted her confession, claiming that she was coerced by Fa. Her statement contradicted the evidence obtained by the police in many ways. For example, Lao denies killing Yin, but according to forensic examination, Yin's death occurred the day after Fa was arrested. So the person who killed Yin couldn't be Fa, but only Lao.
我凭什么去帮法子英报仇啊？他自己做了这么不可让人饶恕的罪行，他在犯罪，我为什么要帮助他去做最后这样一个程序呢？就是说去杀掉英。
Every time she went to the bank alone to withdraw money, she had the opportunity to leave, but she always got back and continued committing crimes with Fa. Regarding this, Lao explained that she did so to protect her family.
我也不想这么做，但是法子英，你想，他是那么一个暴力的人，那么残酷的、没有人性的人，他做什么，我制止不了，所以我认错，我应该制止、终止犯。
During police interrogation, she provided a confession saying that she had proposed setting fire to the victim's house. But at the trial, she denied it and said that she had made up the story inspired by the nanny arson case.
放了一把火把房子烧了这么一句话。
就是因为我很多东西记不清楚，因为时代久远，经办的要求我再详细点、再深一点，所以我就认了色。这时候是受那个上海保姆纵火案的影响吧，临时发挥的。
I have made a video about the nanny arson case. If you are interested, you could check out this video on my channel. Throughout the trial, Lao repeatedly mentioned that she disdained using such despicable methods to get money and said that she was also a victim.
我都没有要，我不屑于去要这些赃物，我就空着手走了。我根本就不想那样，我都说我的尖叫声比受害者那个小妹妹的声音还要大，我不曾伤害过人。
During their time together, Fa cooked for her and took care of her in life. After his arrest, he protected her. It sounds like they were more like a couple and partner than a coercive relationship. With all the evidence, the court believed that in these cases, they had a clear division when committing the crimes and were both the main perpetrators. In the end, Lao was sentenced to death. On December 18th this year, Lao was executed.